Tim's haunted by a fad.
She dreams about me every night.
Sounds like she has a sleeping disorder.
But is Tim worried?
I will not live my life in fear.
Home Improvement.
No!
7 o'clock Sunday on Southern Cross.
Commonwealth Games open amid tradition and colour. Health workers to escalate bans and Flinders Island shipping concern. Good evening, I'm Dianne Massey. The 15th Commonwealth Games are underway after a spectacular opening ceremony in Victoria, Canada. A huge crowd welcomed the Queen and other royals and had a special cheer for the disabled athletes leading Australia's contingent.
3, 2, 1.
It was the countdown to an extravaganza that lasted almost 3 hours. With a budget that would pale into insignificance compared to an Olympic Games, the event began slowly. The Mounties, the dignitaries, the royals.
And His Royal Highness, the Prince Edward.
The Queen and Duke of Edinburgh arrived in the very same vehicle as King George did in 1939. New Zealand, host of the last Games in Auckland, led out the 66 countries, comprising more than 3,500 athletes. Australia was soon after. Ironically, flag bearer Ian Hale was followed by our country's disabled athletes. It seemed the team felt it was something they deserved. But the biggest ovation was left for the host nation.
Here's the Canadian flag is coming into the arena.
After a journey which began at Buckingham Palace in March last year, the silver baton was brought into the stadium on its final leg by Canadian ski champion Miriam Bedard. The Queen then read the message all had been waiting for.
I hereby declare the 15th Commonwealth Games open.
The honour of carrying the Commonwealth Games flag was given to two of the greatest runners of all time, Australia's John Landy and Great Britain's Sir Roger Bannister. And then the highlight, the friendly games were about to begin.
Yeah, it was fun, but it's now time to settle back down again, I guess. It was long, my feet are killing me.
I think today was great, we enjoyed it, and I mean, you always enjoy walking out there, especially today, there's lots of Australians.
Economic reforms which could save every Australian household $1,600 a year are in the balance. In Darwin tonight, Prime Minister Paul Keating and the state premiers are locked in heated talks over who should pay for the changes.
The state premiers were greeted this morning by protests against the Indonesian invasion of East Timor. But the premiers were intent on mounting a protest of their own, adamant they would not be footing the bill for reform.
We're all agreed on the goals of what I think will be a great benefit to the national economy. The question is how we get there, and the challenge for the Commonwealth is to meet us halfway.
The agenda being pushed by Paul Keating, uniform competition laws across Australia, laws that would open up state government monopolies like power generation and water supply to competition, cutting costs, increasing efficiency and reducing prices. The sticking point, the states demand that the Commonwealth share with them the revenue windfalls resulting from the reforms. By lunchtime, negotiations were going nowhere.
Absolutely no progress at all.
But suddenly, after 5 hours, progress of sorts. Paul Keating agreeing to the state's demand for a share of the revenue benefits.
Well, there's been a breakthrough. The Prime Minister's agreed to the request all morning of the states. It's been on all day.
It was never going to be easy to crack that nut. This was the way to do it, I think.
But late this afternoon, South Australia, Tasmania and Victoria were still resisting on some points, and a deadlock remained a possibility.
All elective surgery in Tasmania's public hospitals has been banned, following an escalation of industrial action by health and community service workers. It follows yesterday's breakdown in talks and appears headed for the Industrial Commission.
Yesterday's talks with Health Minister Roger Groom broke down when the government demanded more time.
We needed more time to negotiate to try and determine exactly what the cost to government and to the taxpayers of the state would be.
The wage increases were agreed to in 1992 After a week of stalled talks, employees today placed bans on all elective surgery in public hospitals and have begun rolling stoppages on revenue collection through to rubbish collection.
We've been dudded by a government who reached agreement with us, and now we find that we've delivered and they have chosen to walk away from their part of the deal.
Roger Groom's failure to resolve the dispute yesterday has raised questions the issue's been turned into a cabinet power struggle.
The minister, in my view, was being hamstrung by whom I don't know, but he didn't appear to have the authority necessary to resolve this dispute.
Mr Groom maintains there's no rift.
There's no falling out. There are no difficulties. I'm a part of the government and we have a responsibility to the taxpayers.
The state government now looks certain to register the dispute with the Industrial Commission. Meanwhile, nurses at the Risdon Prison Hospital are threatening to walk off the job if staffing levels aren't increased by Wednesday next week.
With a decision on overriding federal gay law reform just days away, a new opinion poll shows a majority of Tasmanians support reform. According to the poll, 57% of Tasmanians believe homosexual acts between consenting male adults should be legalised.
News of the poll travelled fast, a gatecrasher interrupting the gays' media conference.
No, listen, hold on for a second.
Yeah, how long are you going to go for?
That's right. You're going to vilify us. Why don't you put your hand on it?
No, I'm just asking how long you're going to talk for.
I'm just trying to find out if my voice really does count as a small Tasmanian, or I should be shut up.
Can I suggest, sir, that if you want to put your point of view across, that you call your own press conference?
Then it was back to the statewide poll, and the question, should homosexual acts in private between consenting male adults be legal or illegal? 57% of the 1,000 polled said it should be legal. 37% disagreed. That's a big change from 6 years ago when 56% wanted consenting homosexual acts kept illegal.
We want a law from Canberra which says that these laws in Tasmania cannot be used, that they violate our international obligations and are nullified and invalid.
Federal Cabinet will decide on Monday whether or not to override state gay laws.
Is that as soon as the law's changed, that's it. I mean, the sky doesn't fall in and the earth doesn't open up. All those dire predictions of the anti-gay campaigners don't come true.
Not so, say anti-gay activists.
Progress, we probably will do considerably more statewide leaflet drops. We will be doing considerably more speaking to community organisations and considerably more lobbying of parliaments throughout Australia.
The state government has decided the future of Flinders Island shipping services, but not everyone is happy about the result. A new vessel is to be built and operated between Bridport and Lady Barron from the middle of next year. But farmers and the company that serviced Flinders for 30 years are not convinced it's the right decision. The government today ended months of uncertainty about Flinders shipping. Bridport shipyard operator Matthew Bales will be contracted to build a 35-metre stern loading vessel costing $1.3 million. With capacity for 300 tonnes, the boat will sail 3 times a week between Bridport and Flinders with a weekly trip to Victoria.
In actual fact, the tonnage will be nearly double what's already carried by the Lady Gillian. And also it will be a quicker service.
But it's a disappointing result for the current operator. Flinders Strait Shipping claims its proposal was similar to the one the government accepted. The company, which has had the Flinders run for 3 decades, isn't convinced about the government's choice.
It's no bigger in length than the Lady Gillian. I understand the Bridport proposal is also virtually an open deck type of vessel, and I don't think that situation is very good for the carriage of livestock.
Farmers share a similar concern.
The farmers there will need to be satisfied that it is of adequate size and configuration to carry the volume of livestock that is required in a safe manner.
The state government has defended its choice, saying it's the best cost option for Tasmanian taxpayers.
It will be running within 2 years without a subsidy from the government, and the operator is putting up the money to build the ship.
The government hopes the existing operator will maintain its service until the new vessel takes over. Eddie Blythe says he hasn't been approached and the future of the company will be discussed next week. Still to come, hopes for a hostage release in Cambodia, and police ranks swelled after an academy graduation ceremony.
Friday night football's big game with the G. North Melbourne and Melbourne struggle it out, and a finals place is on the line. Both teams were shaken in last week's round. Who will snatch the vital 4 points? North Melbourne meet Melbourne in Friday night football.
Well, I'd like to see that.